If you talk about the security world, whenever you have to implement the security, we need some kind of software, appliances, and technology. And if you want to implement the security in AWS Cloud, then mainly if you want to implement the security on the basis of key, also known as mainly you can say cryptography. Okay, then we have one service available in the AWS. The service name is KMS, Key Management Service. If you go to the AWS Management Console and search for KMS, here you can see we have one service available in the AWS Cloud. The name is Key Management Service. And the main use of the this service is mainly integrated almost all the services of the AWS, like if you talk about EBS. In EBS, if you want to encrypt the volume, so we use the KMS to encrypt the volume, through which we can encrypt the volume. If you want to implement the or encrypt the variables in Lambda, or if you want to encrypt the any kind of functions or data in Lambda, so here we can use the KMS. If you want to what do we say, implement the HTTPS on load balancer ELB, so here we can use KMS. If you want to encrypt the data in RDS, relational database service, so here we can use KMS. So KMS is lots of services together we can use for KMS, and we can implement the security and all the encryption kind of things. But if you talk about the encryption, so mainly we need to understand first about the cryptography, what is mean by keys and why we use the keys and public keys and all the things. So you can think like, so first I'm gonna explain you about the cryptography. So if you talk about the cryptography, if you have some kind of data, means you want to write some data, and the mainly is if you translate to the Greek language, so write mostly means graphy. So this graphy word come from the Greek language. So here they use the write for the graphy. And if you talk about the secure, means if you want to secure your writing, so if you want to secure your writing, so this word come from the Greek language, mainly cryptography. And then if you talk about like something, if you are home, and in our home we have some kind of object or important things or money or jewelry, what we do, we take one box and we put that jewelry or some kind of important thing in that box, and we lock the box using some kind of key. Then this box is also some kind of known as locker, or it's also known as vault. Okay, and whenever we need to access this object or any kind of information, important things like money or jewelry, we use the same key to access this important thing. Same thing in the computer world, CS world, computer science world. This same object or important thing is our file, and we have our data in our file. Then just give me 1 minute. Okay, so we have same kind of thing in computer world. We have file, and this same kind of important thing is our data. So what we do mainly, if we have some kind of important data, like I have multiple, if you see in my Oracle VirtualBox, I have multiple operating system there. I don't know their password, so what I can do, I can open the notepad and save the like something password, like is like you can think like Red Hat. I can store this password in any kind of file. But if I store this file directly, so anybody can access my data, anybody can see my password. So what we do normally, we like this file is also known as plain text, like this is our plain text password, and anybody can access. If anyone have the access of my laptop or any, my storage, so anybody can access my file and read this data. So you can think this is the most important data, like some kind of password and all the things. So we have data in that file. This is plain data, so this is also known as plain text. Okay, and same thing we did with our, like in our home we have some kind of important object. So same thing we do with our file. So what we do some process, some kind of process. Okay, so this is our plain file, we do some kind of process and we convert this normal file into the lock, means we create the lock of this file, and this locker is mostly known as encryption. We lock this file using some kind of process, and this process is mainly known as algorithm. We use some kind of algorithm. There are lots of algorithms available in this world through which we can encrypt the file or encrypt the data. Mainly if we talk about the algorithm, so we have AES algorithm available, then we have DES, one kind of algorithm available. There are lots of different between them, like if we have some kind of important data where the speed of encryption doesn't matter, like after encrypt we also need to access the data. What we are doing here, we are just using the plain data and may encrypt it using the some kind of algorithm. But after encryption, like this is our main data file, plain text, and we use some kind of algorithm, okay, to encrypt the data. Like there are multiple algorithms available, like I'm gonna explain you after some minute. But this is our plain file, and using this plain file we apply some kind of algorithm or process, you can say, and after that we created one file. The file will be the ciphertext, also known as ciphertext, the encrypted data what we did. This is also known as ciphertext after encryption. And the mainly thing is what we are doing, we are using some kind of algorithm to log the file. So after log we need some keys. Using these keys we log the files. So the main thing here is now the data in the file what we have, it's secure using the any kind of algorithm or encryption or keys. So the data in the file, it's secure, but how can you secure the keys? So we also need to secure the keys. So here the role of, there are lots of companies there, and there are all the business are running on the data, like you can think banking, medical and healthcare. There are lots of places where all the main key thing is their data. Okay, so what they need, if anybody have the access of my keys, so they can access my entire data. So what they are doing, there are lots of companies, they actually created the hardware to secure the keys. Those are known as SMS hardware. If you quickly search for SMS hardware, so let me just, these are HMS devices. You search, there are lots of companies which created the hardware. Like one of the company, you can say Thales, it's one of the company. We have Crypt, so one of the companies Crypto we have, then we have interest we have. So this kind of devices we use to store that file. So if you read about these devices, these are the uh, hardened device, security hardened device, means if anybody tried to retrieve the keys, or if anybody tried to access this device, or try to read the key from using this device, so what they do, they actually erase the keys or delete the keys, means anybody can't recover the keys from these devices. So if anybody by chance get the access of these devices, so still they can't able to get your keys. So they use SMS devices, but these devices are very costly. So what company do, they set up the encryption using these keys, using these devices, SMS devices, and mainly for high availability, they don't take only one device, they always take like some kind of two devices, and they put together and create a cluster of these devices and then they use it. But these devices are really costly. Like one device you can think like $5,000, something like that. Okay, but now it's your choice. You use these devices as on premises, or you can use the cloud. Okay, so just like EC2, we use the EC2 service to get the RAM and CPU. Same like if you want to take this HSM devices at the rent, or using the, what we can say, using the rent kind of thing, like per hourly basis, means pay as you go model. So for this we have one service available in the cloud, like cloud, I think HSM, we have one service available in the cloud. What we can do there, if I go to the cloud HSM, if I go to AWS cloud, if you search for cloud HSM, so we have one specific cloud HSM service available. What they do, they just told us that you don't need to purchase these devices. We can just take these devices and as a pay as you go model, and lots of companies are using this kind of service. If you know about the HIPAA rules and regulation, what they do, if you want to store any data, you have to store on premises. So or they can't store on rely on the any other companies, like third party companies. They can't store their data in the third companies, so they can use the they also follow the HIPAA regulation or PCI regulation, rules and regulation from the healthcare. If you search for about the HIPAA, so it's mainly known as healthcare regulation. Now, if you talk about the mainly more about the keys, so let me just do one thing. If you talk about more about the keys, so what we do, we have one plain text file. We use some kind of algorithm to create it into a ciphertext, means the file is readable, and but they can't able to read the real data what we put in that file. So this, like, we have plain text and we create the ciphertext file using some kind of encryption. And after encryption, we always encrypt with the some kind of keys, and after encrypt we use the same key to decrypt this data back into the original plain text. Okay, when we use the same key to encrypt the data and we use same key to decrypt the data, so this kind of encryption is known as symmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption. But there are lots of places where there are some drawback we face in the symmetric encryption. So at that point we also need to use, there is one more kind of encryption as known as asymmetric encryption. Asymmetric encryption. Okay, so in symmetric encryption, like if you talk about the symmetric encryption, so we have mostly in symmetric encryption we only use one key, means the same key to log the data and unlock the data, means encryption and decryption. But if you talk about the asymmetric encryption, so here we have two type of keys, like one is a public key and another is private key. Okay, I'm not focusing on much on the asymmetric encryption. If you also in future, if you get some time, we can discuss on the asymmetric encryption, but now mainly focus on the symmetric encryption. So there are two types of multiple algorithms available to encrypt or decrypt the data. Like we have one algorithm available is AES, like I explained you earlier, and there is one more available DES. If you search for AES algorithm in cryptography, you can get advanced encryption standard and many more things. Like lots of banks using this kind of algorithm, lots of banks are using this kind of AES algorithm. There are DS also, but we have some drawbacks and it's a breakable algorithm, so we don't use the DS algorithm much. When you have a requirement that this algorithm is some kind of, you can, if you talk about the different, so one of the different is AES algorithm is kind of slow, but they provide you most secure keys means most secure encryption in the world. And if you talk about the DS, they are some kind of breakable and they are faster, but they are some kind of breakable. When you have the scenario that you have to focus on the speed, but you don't have some kind of important data, at that time you can go for DS. And when you have to focus on the encryption, means important data part like banking and medical and healthcare, then you can go for ES algorithm. Okay, and depend on the your other scenarios also. So these are the some basic of the cryptography. Now let's move toward the KMS service. Okay, so what the AWS cloud say, you are managing the keys, like you are using the plain text file and encrypting it. Okay, and you are encrypting it, and what you are doing, the keys which you are getting, that you are storing in the local hard disks, means local hard disks or HMS devices. But these are devices so costly, so they also provide the cloud HSM service. But instead of what we can do, instead of using this HMS service, we can directly store the keys in AWS cloud using the KSM service. Okay, without using this HMS appliances. Now it's depend on the scenario. If you are some kind of rules and regulation, then you can't use the KSM service. You have to go for the cloud HSM, this kind of service, or you have to purchase the HSM physical hardware. So depend on the use cases, but mostly what AWS cloud say, we can manage your service, means the keys which you are using, we are going to create the keys also for you, we are going to manage the keys also for you when you have your need to get the keys. Okay, it does not matter here where is your data, means I want to encrypt the file in any file here in my operating system, like I have one kind of text file or any kind of file I want to encrypt, so I can directly encrypt it using the keys which are stored in my AWS called KSM service. Okay, so this is the one service they are provide you. Now let's move to the this service. So if you open the AWS cloud and search for KSM service, so here you can see the information about the KSM. It's a fully managed service, means they provide us keys and all the things, and they are storing these keys are they are storing in some kind of appliances and many more things there. Okay, now if you want to create the keys in your local storage or hard disk, so what we do, we can use we have OpenSSL command, like open SSL command we can use, or we have many more command to create the keys. But what AWS say, we are managing the keys, and you can, it means we can say AWS is gonna create our keys, so we don't use to you OpenSSL command or any kind of command to create the keys. Whenever we create the KSM service or keys, AWS is gonna create our keys. So what we can do, let me open the dashboard, and here let me click on create keys. Okay, first let me show you some basic dashboard of the KSM. So here you can see in KSM mainly the keys are known as customer managed keys. So which keys we are going to create, these are known as customer. We are the customer of the AWS keys, AWS cloud, and these are the AWS customer managed keys. And here we have one more section, custom key store. What we can do here, the appliances we are creating in cloud HSM, so we can also integrate that appliances or the devices here, and we can store where we can create the keys here, and we can store the keys here. So mainly all the banking sector and where we have to maintain the regulation, so we can use this option. But now we don't have to maintain, so I'm going to use the normal. And now let me create key, and here they are asking you which type of key you want to create. So you want to go for asymmetric keys, or you want to go for asymmetric key, or you want to go for symmetric key. I want to use the symmetric key, and in symmetric key encryption, and we want to use this key for encryption and decryption. There are lots of use cases to we can generate the HPAG and all the things. But for now, I want to use the encryption and decryption. Okay, and here you can see we have key material origin, means the keys you are using, means you want to generate that key one, you want that AWS cloud will generate your keys and manage your keys, or you want to import your own keys, or you want to get the keys from CloudHSM. If you are using the CloudHSM service, if you create already keys there, so you can import from there also, or if you want to import any third party external key sources. Okay, so you can also integrate third party sources, but now I want that AWS create my keys and they manage my keys, so I want to go for KMS recommendation. Okay, then we have single region also, single region keys and multi-region key. What is mean by the what is mean by it? If I quickly explain you, we whenever we encrypt any file, like whenever we can, I also told you that we can encrypt the ELB value using the KMS. So what we can do, if we create the snapshot, if you know about, we can create the snapshot of the ELB. So when we create the snapshot of the ELB value, we can create in another region also. So for that, you can also select that if you want to create the keys in single region, or if you want to create the keys in multiple region. So whenever you create the snapshot, so at that region also we can access that key. And remember thing, the KMS create the keys per region wise. Okay, you can access this key in this region only, you can't access in the another region. Now all the options are right, so let me click on next. And here they are asking me about the name, means alias means name, so let me give my key 123, some kind of this. And here description not important and text is also not important. Let me click on next. And here they are asking you that you are creating the keys, means who is the owner of this keys now, means who is the admin or administrator of this keys. By default, it's optional if you don't select the any owner or any user here. So this is only our IAM user. So if you know about, we have IAM service in AWS Cloud, IAM, identity and access management, where we can maintain and access all the users. So they are asking here, like if you want to go for authentication part, means which user can access these keys. Okay, so let me do one thing, let me quickly go to the IAM user and let me create two users there. I need two users. So one user who have all the permission of the keys, means they can access the key, delete the keys and all the things, and another user which are going to only encrypt and decrypt the data through Git. So by chance I have two users available, one is Dilip and second is user one. So let me go to the service again, KMS, and here the owner I want to go to the Dilip user, and let me click on next. And here they are asking you that which user can use that keys only, means they can only encrypt the data using that keys and decrypt the data using that keys. So I want to go for user one. Okay, and now click on next. And here as per every services, like whenever we create any permissions kind of thing or policies kind of thing, so they create the policy documents, allow policy documents, okay, in JSON format. So here if you can see, mainly the user, we have root, and root user have all the power of this KMS service. And in security world, means in security world, users are also known as principal. Okay, so in security world, users are also known as principal. If anybody work on Kerbos kind of security, so here we can use mostly, as user we mostly use the principal there. Okay, that means root user can able to access everything in that KMS service. Here you can see action, KMS, everything. And if you check, then we have Dilip user, it's the administrator of the keys. And here you can see in action, they can create, read, delete, update, describe, revoke or disable, and many more things, means all the access they can do on these keys. Then we have another user like user A. It's a normal user, means they can only able to encrypt and decrypt the data and re-encrypt and all the other things. So this is a simple document, you don't need to worry about this. If you don't understand, no issues, it's there, they just give you to review it. And let me click on next. So as soon you click on next, they also give one more page. So here you can see, here you can review all the configuration file, like this is a symmetric key we are using, the symmetrical default of the algorithm you are using, and the uses is encryption and decryption. And here you can see origin means we are using the AWS as the origin of the keys, means AWS is gonna create our keys. Behind the scene they are going to create our keys using some kind of OpenSSL command and all the things, and here all the key names and all the other things. Okay, now let's click on finish and create the key. So as soon as you click on create and create the keys, so here you can see in customer manage keys our key is created. And if you check the user and all the things, they show you key user, they show you, and you can also add the other AWS account there. And if you go for cryptographic information, so here you can see all the users, all the information that we set, we can check here. Okay, and key rotation and alias is not an important point together for now. Now let's do one thing. Now let's use this key and encrypt and decrypt the data. Okay, so for this I'm gonna use the cmd command prompt of my Windows. So let me open the command prompt cmd, and here you can see I'm gonna use AWS command. I have AWS command installed, and I already set up the AWS user. You can set up in your case. I already set up. If now in AWS command line we have one command AWS KMS, and if you check the help of this command, you can see it's a command through which we can encrypt and decrypt all the, we can manage entire KMS service. So if you go down, so here you can see we have options to encrypt the keys and many more things. So what I'm gonna do, let me do one thing. Let me go to the document folder and create one file, mkdir most underscore secure underscore data, and go to the this folder. And in this folder, let me create one file like hello.txt. And here let me store the data like that it's my password, something like it's my secure data, you can think like something like this, and I store this data in this file. Now if I close, you can use read command, if you can see, or let me use, okay, now we can use notepad, and you can see the data is stored in this file. Now what I'm gonna do, we have to encrypt the data, so we can use AWS KMS encrypt option to encrypt the data. But here they have lots of help they're gonna give you, so we don't need to remember the option which one we want to use, when to use encrypt, what to use when. So what I can do, we can check the help, or let me open the AWS KMS CLI documentation here. And if you open, so here you can see we have all the options which are gonna use, we can use there. So if I go down, so okay, so here you can see we have encryption there. So if I click on encrypt, and here you can see all the information about how we can encrypt gonna come out. So we have to use symmetric algorithm, it's by default, and all the information. But if you go down, so here you can see we have to use encrypt option. So let me use KMS encrypt, and then we need to give the key ID or plain text, means the text we want to give. So they are also gonna give you the example of this command. So if you go down, so here you can see they are also giving you the example. So what you have to do, we have to use plain AWS KMS command, okay, and then we have to use plain text hyphen plain text. And if you want to pass the file, so this is the syntax for passing the file. So let me copy it here, file colon slash slash file b colon slash slash, and the file name you have to pass like hello.txt. And here we also need to pass the, if I press enter here, so here you can see they are gonna give you the error like this is the following argument they required. So you can see hyphen key ID means using which key you want to encrypt the data. We have multiple keys in our AWS cloud, but which key you want to use to encrypt the data. So if I quickly use the hyphen key ID option, and we need to pass the ID of the key. So let me go to the KMS service, and here you can see this is the ID of my key. So if I copy here and paste here and press enter, so you can see my data is encrypted. Now they are gonna give me the output like a cipher blob and all the things. This is my encrypted data they give me. Okay, now to the most important part in this block, entire block, we need to use only the our data, means we need to store this data yeah, in somewhere. Like we can also delete this hello.txt file now. We don't need to use the hello.txt file now. We can just use this ciphertext data, and we can use same key to decrypt our data back into the normal text, also known as PT, plain text, from the ciphertext. So what we can do now, we can also delete this file. We don't need to store this file anymore in our operating system. So what we can do now is this, in this block the most important part is our ciphertext block. So in this command I can use hyphen query option, and I want to retrieve only this block. Okay, so let me copy and paste. So you can see they are gonna give me the only this block, but I don't want the this symbol here, double quotes. So what I can do, in this command I can pass one more option, hyphen output, and I want the output as a text format. So if I press enter, so you can see the output they are going to give, they remove the double quotes here. And now let me do one thing, let me store this output in any file like secure underscore txt. If I press enter, you can see one more file new gonna come up, secured underscore dot txt. If I use notepad, you can see you can't able to read this data, means the data which we encrypted, means ciphertext, user can able to, anyone can able to read this data, but they can't able to understand the data, what is the real meaning of this data. Okay, and there is one more concept now. If you want to decrypt this data, okay, so if you want to decrypt this data, the secure.txt file, if you want to convert this data back into the plain text format, so what we can do now there is one more concept that you need to understand. So let me just create. So whenever you create any kind of data, okay, so think like we have some kind of code or some kind of data. In that data, if you want to show to someone, if you are showing to someone, so what they can do, in our code we have some kind of password or all the kind of thing. Okay, so instead of showing you some, if you show this data to someone, so what they can do, they can able to see the password, and very quickly they can able to and remember it, and they can do some kind of attack or any kind of thing. So instead of showing them password directly, what we can do, we can decode this password into the, means this is our normal text. So what we can do, instead of storing the normal text, we can decode this into the any format. Okay, so no one can able to read it. So this is known as encoding. Okay, and when we from that encoded format we convert to the normal, so this is known as decoding. Okay, and there are lots of format available. One of the is base 64 format we can use to encode and decode, and lots of guys say that anybody can encrypt the data, and anybody can using this encrypted, they can decrypt the data without any keys or any kind of things. So the main use of the base 64 format or encoding and decoding is that anybody can, when you are showing the data to anyone, so they can't able to understand the password or your data easily, means by looking once at them or the data. So we first encode it and decode it, so they can't able to understand easily. So this is the one of the use of the encoding and decoding. And there are lots of website, like if you go for base 64 encode, okay, so there are lots of encoder and decoder available online. So if I want to encode, like if I want to encode the red hat, and if I encode, so you can see they are gonna give me the red hat in encoded format, in some kind of this format. Okay, so from looking at this format, nobody can understand this is the red hat. Now if you want to decode, so what you can do, there are lots of decoder available. So let me do one thing, base 64 decoder available, like let me open these, and if I press you can see I pressed in the base64 format, and if I click on decode, they are gonna again convert into the Red Hat. So behind the scene, this is the always good to have this kind of encoding and decoding. So AWS, what they do whenever they show you this kind of encryption, means whenever they give you this kind of data, so they don't give the directly encrypted, means the ciphertext directly. They convert the ciphertext into the base64, means they encode the ciphertext first. So if I quickly explain you what they do, like I have hello.txt file which I use to encode. So behind the scene, they first my hello.txt file upload to the AWS cloud somewhere, then they encode that file, they first encrypt that file, and after encryption, whatever text they got, they encode that ciphertext, and after that they give me the output. Okay, so it's always good to don't directly build any kind of ciphertext directly, or so what they did, they first encode it. So the file which we store here, like this is the file secure.txt, what we get. So this is not a normal means this is not directly what we see and say, it's not a ciphertext, it's a encoded format of the ciphertext, okay, which we encrypted from the keys. So if you want to convert this means you want to decode this into the ciphertext. So in Linux we can use OpenSSL command or bash64 command to decode this, but we are using the Windows now. So in Windows we have mostly one command available, like sudutil. So this is the one command available. In this command we have multiple options. So one of the option is -decode. Okay, and in decode we can give the file name, like what we secure.txt, and after decoding we want to store this into the secure_txt_decode file. I am just this file name I'm just gonna giving. So if you press enter, you can see decode command completed successfully. Now if you open notepad secure_txt_decode, you can see this is the real ciphertext. They are encrypted behind the scene. Now if you want to decrypt this data again, okay, if you want to decrypt this data again back into the normal format, so what we can do, in AWS KMS command we can use decrypt option. Okay, so if I quickly go to the documentation again, and here if you find the decrypt option, decrypt, we can use the decrypt option to convert this data back into the normal format. So if I go down here, so here you can find, like, we want to give the cipher blob, which ciphertext you want to convert into the normal text. So if I give, so let me cut this, and this is the cipher blob, and the name is, so let me use the hyphen file option again. I want to use from file again, so let me use file b : // it's the syntax, and the file is secure_txt or decode. We need to give the decoded file. Okay, so if I press enter here directly, you can see they are gonna ask you multiple options, but one of the thing they are asking you invalid choice. So you can see we need to pass the decrypt. We forget to add the decrypt here, so let me add decrypt. So we forget to add the decrypt option here. So copy, and if I paste, and if I press enter here, you can see they are gonna convert this cipher blob text into the normal text. Okay, but they don't show you the normal text directly here. Our normal text is red hat, means plain text is red hat, but they show you the plain text here as a encoded format. So if I copy this, and if I open any decoder, so if I go to the here decoder, and if I paste the format here, you can see it's the same encoded format of the red hat. So you can see we can able to access our data. Okay, so the main use of the KMS services, they don't actually manage our data or any kind of thing. What they do, they manage our keys, and the most critical thing is our keys. So in KMS service, if you check, they don't we are the administrator of the keys, but you can't able to we can't even download these keys in our system. Means if you are downloading these keys, or somehow we downloaded and corrupted our storage, and anybody can get the access of these keys. Okay, and means mostly we have the external key store option. Means if anybody, any organization from on premises move to the, means they want to migrate to the cloud, so they can use the external key sources, mean the origin. Like they can change the origin. They want to use the external origin, means they want to already pre-created keys. Like most of the organization, they have pre-created thousands and thousands of the keys for every different kind of data. For Kubernetes cluster, they have different keys. For the Jenkins, they have different keys, and all the services or many important data, they have their different keys available. Okay, so this is the origin. Means what is the origin? So we are using the AWS KMS now. Means AWS is gonna create our keys and manage our keys, and they are not even going to give the option of the download. So if you can see, we can able to access this kind of data. So that's it for the KMS, guys. See you in the next class.